Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you happen to be in the world, and welcome to another scene from the living world of darkness, Rage Across New York. We are, of course, setting this scene in the Sept of the Green, and while we are setting it Tellurian side in the proper world, we are, however, setting it in one of the more veil-protected areas out in the training grounds, where 10 Point is just kind of casually going about her daily activities, or at least regular activities, one of which happens to be archery practice. So there are surely targets set up in a proper archery range, because Lord knows we have had a notably skilled Black Fury in the past who would have seen to such things. Thank you, Callie. And so yeah, she is just set at the end, concentrating on what she's doing and potentially drawing some small amount of attention, because while her motions are for the most part smooth, she will occasionally move enough that the bells bound around her antlers give off a light little jingle.
William has been busy today. He's joined in some of the patrols and has been preparing certain other things as well as paying his daily chimmages. I'm seeing Becky offset for at least a little while, but now he's come back and he needs to, he wants to practice. And as part of his daily regime of trying to control his more bestial nature, he finds that punching things helps, as much as he probably wouldn't like to admit it. So he has turned up at the training grounds as well. He has no weapon or such fancy things. He is just here to, wail on the punching bags. And that is where he will see somebody who he has actually talked about before. He's seen the figure of 10 Point, although I don't think he knows her name, around the Sept since he has been ostracized. He was unable to communicate with her. And he has brought her up and has been told that, in fact, the antlers are not a headdress, like he originally suspected. So he will kind of go over to the punching bags, but he will actually just kind of sit down and watch her shoot her bow. And she will probably notice him.
And perhaps initially she won't necessarily notice. She'll take a couple more shots. It's noteworthy, at least, that this is in fact a longbow, and that she is in fact in glabro, for the sake of being able to pull it. So she'll fire off another shot, and we'll say it's the last of her arrows. So she'll do the kind of habitual reach after the quiver, realize it's empty, realize she has in fact shot yea many, and finally loosen up her stance some, give the quiver an idle pat, and glance around as she, like, in the midst of taking that first step towards the target. And that's about where she'll finally realize that Will is present. And being as this is not someone she knows, she will kind of, for the lack of a better term, freeze. Straight up deer in headlight style.
Sorry, I didn't mean to startle you. I just haven't seen anyone shooting a bow.
And she'll blink a time or two and at least relax a bit, kind of just into a stand with the bow held down at her side. And after some consideration, she'll, and noteworthy wise, she doesn't do the Gru habit of looking at the chin or the brow to avoid looking at the eyes. She just kind of straight up looks down towards his body mass, which has to be a little weird. And in order to kind of assess what situation she's in, we'll bob her head and offer an introduction. Oh, no, it's fine. I am 10 Point, Metasporn, Theurge of the Fianna, and Cleath to the nation.
Good to meet you, 10 Point. I'm William White. Oath of Silence, Rattles Twigs, Storms Through Lava. Homid Arun of the Children of Gaia. And Will offers a hand for her to shake.
She kind of pauses and is doing sort of that listening look where you're looking just a little bit past someone, like waiting for that last little bit of information.
Oh, sorry, what did I leave out?
Rank.
Oh. We'll see that, as Robbie did. And, sorry, Cleath.
And she'll give a little bit of a nod and, with the hand offered, kind of looks at it, a little puzzled. But after just a long enough pause to be properly awkward, will offer out her own.
She's probably towering over Will, actually, if she's in Galabras, he's in Homid. But Will shakes her hand. Good to meet you. You're with the new group that arrived, right? Banshee's pack.
Yes. William Yuff.
What, sorry?
Yeah. Yeah.
He says that in character.
Oh. Yes. Yuff.
What's Yef?
She blinks a time or two and actually, like, does that sort of sneak a glance thing towards his face in general, just trying to assess his overall, just kind of his expression.
Yeah, genuine question. He's not mocking or anything.
Well, her confusion is fairly blatant, as she says, Yuff is a term of respect for those of the same rank as yourself.
Oh, right.
Much
I'll
as...
have to remember that.
Yes.
There's a small awkward pause. So, you're an archer?
Yes, yes.
Just William's fine.
There's a brief purse of lips before she nods her head in understanding. As you wish, then. And of course, every nod sends up a little chime.
So, how was your trip over? Will is desperately trying to make conversation.
Sadly, she is very poor at providing it. So she continues to kind of look awkwardly downward, especially with such a height difference, and answers, as before, very simply. We took a moon bridge, and there's a blatant pause as she goes for the rhythmic term of respect, catches herself, and continues. It was relatively uneventful, but pleasant. It's a very nice view.
Will nods. Says, I've never taken one, actually. Oh, no, I have. Back from Amazon, I forget. So, how long are your pack in the set for? Or is it for good?
For so long as our alpha decides that she wishes to stay, I suppose.
And who's your alpha?
Banshee Raya is my alpha, and Balian Raya, Predator's Focus, is my beta.
Predator's Focus, quite a deep name.
It
He's a
suits him.
Philodox, right?
Yes.
I think Jacob mentioned him. Silver Fang, correct?
Yes.
More awkward silence.
Absolutely.
So, what do you make of New York?
And that'll at least prompt a glance kind of towards the horizon. It's getting on in the day, but there's still, with the clear area here, there's probably still a reasonable view beyond the tree line of the buildings. I couldn't tell you, really. The sept is much smaller than I'm used to.
Yeah. I guess it's difficult for you to go offset. Sorry,
Yes.
I didn't mean to bring up a touchy point.
It is simply a fact. There's no need to apologize. It would be pleasant. Perhaps I'll be given permission come Halloween to make a trip out into the city and to see it.
Must be somewhere you could cover them up. Or we could go in a car. You could at least look out the window. Get to know the place.
And she, at the first, looks kind of perplexed, and at the latter, kind of reaches up and is only so readily able to touch the furthest tip. I find that most vehicles, the ceilings are too low. In order for me to look out a window, they would be visible.
Or just shrugs, however she wants it. Yeah, we'll just shrugs. Kind of in agreement. If you say so. How long have you been an archer?
I have been practicing archery since my formative years. Fairly early.
Would you show me how?
I could try. The longbow is very hard to pull, though. I must take this form to shoot.
I'll do the same then. And we'll shift into Glabro. Difficulty 7, I believe. I have a success. Yep, we'll shift into Glabro.
And she'll step back a bit to give him room. And still just kind of generally have an air of definitely being out of her comfort zone. She's not avoiding him. She's not looking like she's about to bolt or anything, but she definitely is just kind of confused by the whole thing. So while he's shifting after the first step, she'll realize her arrows are still over in the target and will turn to retrieve them. And upon coming back, we'll first offer the strung bow.
Yeah, Will takes it and he'll kind of look at her and be like, "I've literally never shot one of these ever."
And there's a brief purse of lips before she finally just outright asks, "Are you comfortable with me touching you?"
He has. I wish I had my face come on. He gives a look of like, "What a weird question." Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry.
There's one of those like those very brief little head shakes that might have gone unnoticed if she didn't jingle every time her head moved, but it's definitely the kind of like, God, this place is so weird little head shake. But she'll nonetheless actually she'll first pause. Are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
So she'll make a point of shifting the bow into his left hand. And come about and kind of just sort of go about the very practiced process of kind of guiding his arms up into the proper position. And well, he said he's in a rune, so she's going to assume he can pull it.
He's currently strength 5, so like, yeah.
Yep, you need strength 4 to pull it at all. It's ridiculous. But yeah, she'll guide him into the proper position, probably have him kind of pull on the line a time or two just to kind of get a feel for the resistance he's working with. And then we'll go through the process of retrieving one of her arrows, showing him the notch at the end, the difference in the fletching, so that one side can pass readily by the bow itself, with a piece of the fletching sticking outwards, and show him, in fact, that if it was turned the wrong way about, the fletching would hit and it would fire off into who knows where. And then we'll go about handing him an arrow, helping him hold it to the bow, and instructing him to draw, look down the shaft, and attempt to fire.
Well, let's do it. Will, having taken all this advice, is going to shoot the bow at base dexterity with I have no skill, so it's +1 difficulty. So let's say 4 successes, bullseye, 3 in the red, and then, yeah, gradually getting worse the less successes I have. Will has 2 successes, so he hits kind of the he hits the middle ring, so it's not a terrible shot.
I was going to say, he hits the target at all. It's not bad for a first shot.
Will, as he does it, like, yeah, as he hits the target and kind of looks excitedly at 10 point.
And of course, she'll step back to kind of watch the shot and not get shot herself in the process. And by time when he like whips around to look at her, he'll catch her with like her eyebrows up a bit in surprise. And then she'll do something very uncharacteristic and allow the slightest grin to pull at her lips. That's very good for a first shot.
Well, let's try a second. And he'll put his hand out to take another arrow, and she'll let him have it.
Oh yeah, she'll tug it out of the quiver and offer it over.
Right, he'll do all the same. He'll take at least a minute, kind of like setting his feet, doing stuff. He'll maybe ask a few questions and about how exactly to stand and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll take another shot. Again, 2 successes. So another funk. Yeah, he doesn't miss the target. You're a good teacher.
I had never thought to try. She will kind of confess offhandedly. Probably the most casual thing she's said so far, really.
Alright, this time a bullseye. And he'll take another arrow, spend more time, and I'm going to make this a properly called shot, so this will be difficulty 10 for me.
Oh my god.
But I only need one success. But yeah, I'll take his time and botch.
Oh boy.
This time, not only does he miss, he actually basically he tries to look down the sights a bit too much, and the arrow string whacks him right in the face as he pulls it back and doesn't move his face properly.
She will wince very sympathetically.
Will grabs his lip. It's currently bleeding. Fuck's sake. And yeah, he'll take only a moment to begin healing up. Maybe I'll need more practice before I start bullseyeing.
I should have warned you. The string often hits the arm. Not as often the face, admittedly, but it's very easy to snap or burn yourself with the bowstring.
Well, thank you for the demonstration, and we'll give her it back. And yeah, basically, he'll give like a small bow.
And she, of course, will look grossly out of sorts during the bow and will actually glance around as he is doing so to make sure that no one is there to see it.
Will's going to look up and notice this, and he was already aware she's a Metis, and Will is very aware of how certain conservative Metises view themselves.
Yeah, he can totally catch her at it.
Don't worry about that stuff. Unicorn doesn't care about how you were born.
That may be true of Unicorn, but it is not true of other Guru.
I know. But what I'm saying is it is true of me, so you don't have to worry about the whole... Well, it's up to you, obviously. But I don't really give a shit about the whole Metis thing.
It seems that you are not the only one here who feels that way, but all it takes is one kinfolk reporting back to my beta or my alpha. I strive to compose myself properly and not forget my place.
She gets a feeling that this is an attitude that Will is all too familiar with. As I'm sure the player is aware.
Yes, she is.
And Will nods. New York is a liberal place. This is a bone nor a sept. As far as I'm aware, Mother Larissa herself doesn't exclude Metis purely on the grounds of how they were born. And he'll shrug. But however your pack wants to do it, that's not my business.
It is not so much a matter of acceptance as it is keeping myself in check.
In check.
All Metis are born thanks to the worm's touch on their parents. And it stays with us.
I've never seen any evidence that Metis are any more susceptible to the worm than any of us. Besides, we all have a bit of the worm in us anyway. Every time we lose ourselves to the berserk frenzy, the worm manifests himself in us. That's not exclusive to Metis.
The berserk frenzy, while unfortunate, is not so much the touch of the worm as the thrall is.
Thrall's worse. Frenzy's still bad.
It is not something I have had much cause to experience.
Lucky you.
And she again kind of awkwardly firms her lips and then decides that this is clearly the perfect time to turn and gather her arrows. Especially that one that went over there in the ground, almost up to the fletching.
I feel like it didn't even stick in the ground, it just like tumbled away and it's just
Okay, that works too. So yeah, she'll decide that this is clearly the perfect time to go and fetch up and police her arrows. And tucking each one into the quiver as she goes.
Does she have an Irish accent?
In theory, she would definitely have one. She's grown her entire life in Ireland until now. I'm not gonna.
I sympathise with this. This is the reason I don't play American characters, because my accent's terrible.
Someday I do want to hear what a quote American accent is, but
I can do it, but it's bad.
I just imagine it sounds like super rednecky. But all the same, yes, in theory, she would have a very thick Irish accent.
So well as she's away is considering when he's going to be deliberately subversive or leave the poor thing. Doesn't really want to antagonize a new pack quite this early without actually meeting them first. But then again, as she comes back, he'll say, "I'd like to meet your pack, actually."
And so she'll return, not visibly grudgingly, at least, but kind of politely and attentively will return. And upon being greeted with that, it's kind of hard to really place the expression, but there's an expression there.
Will is all smiles.
I am sure that I can arrange a meeting if that is what you wish, or at least inform them of your interest.
It doesn't have to be formal. Just like to meet people on set. Know who I'm fighting with, eh?
Yes. Are you aware of where our cabin is?
Shakes his head.
And so she'll turn herself about, orient properly, and point off in the appropriate direction, and essentially give him directions that are entirely landmark based. She doesn't know what any of the paths or little roads or whatever through the park are called. She probably very rarely sees a signpost, but she'll essentially give him, straight up landmark by landmark directions to where the Seeker's cabin is.
Sure. Well, we'll smile and thank her. And what was the pack name, sorry?
We are called the Seekers.
The Seekers. Cool. And he does say cool. Me and my pack are the children of the spirit wilds. Although we do not have our totem yet.
Neither do we. Yet. We are still questing after her favor.
Her. Who do you seek as your totem?
Dana.
I don't know who Dana is.
She is a totem of wisdom. She grants insight and influence of a sort.
Oh, that's very good. We can always use more insight.
Indeed. I find that she suits me surprisingly well. Or should she choose to favor our pack.
I'm sure you will have no problem finding a favor.
I hope not.
Well, Tampoint, it's been a pleasure meeting you. I'm sure we will be fast friends.
And again, there's just kind of that. There's a tinge of perplexed in there, but it's an expression.
Will's expression is anything is almost like butter wouldn't melt in his mouth.
Yep, she is blatantly taken aback by just how aggressively friendly he is.
Aggressively friendly. I like it.
So assertive.
How about tomorrow? You come and you show me more archery.
If you wish, yes.
It'd be nice. And Will smile and offer his hand to be shaken again.
And once again, there's a blatant hesitation. She looks at the offered hand almost as if she expects it to bite her.
Will's expression is as if he's completely oblivious to any of her discomfort.
And again, it's after a brief kind of just long enough to be a little awkward, not long enough to be horrifyingly so. A little bit of a pause. She'll again give him her own hand.
Yeah.
And while her handshake isn't completely like dead limp, she definitely doesn't do the firm grasp type thing. It's not straight limp noodle, but I mean her hand's there, and that's a step.
It's not wet sock in a cup, so that's fine.
I've never heard that before. It's beautiful.
Will shake it completely immune to the awkward silence, and yeah, he'll say thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow then, and he'll walk off and shift back into his breed form of Homid.
And she'll just end up standing there, looking somewhat like she's got a nasty case of whiplash from that entire encounter, and probably kind of glancing down at her hand. And yeah, she is just left speechless.
Yeah, I have nothing else.
Yeah, I suppose with that we can say thank you, player, for playing, and any watchers for watching, and we'll see you next time in Awkwardness, the Awkwardening.